Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to Soviet Air Force's Rank 1 tutorial and guide. In this episode I will give you an overview of every individual plane in Rank 1, and after going through them I will guide you through possible grind sequences and potential targets for talismans. The premiums will not be looked at in this video but will be in a separate video of their own later on. Although this footage is RB, this guide will still be useful for other modes as well. I hope this will be a valuable resource for you and will help you in your decision making as you go through the rank. Make sure to give me your feedback in the comments below, and do check the description for the timestamps on the individual planes and links to video reviews that go even more in depth on the specific planes that I made reviews for. I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, let's start the show off with the I-15s, some of the nicest reserve planes in the game. They are sitting right here in a little folder, 1.0 battle rating of course. There's 3 of them. You can use all 3 of them. They are quite identical to each other. They all have a small bomb load as well, so that is good. A little bit of armor protection for the pilot. 8mm plate. Now that is not bad at all. Many early planes don't have any protection, so you have that. You have the fuel right here in a big lumpy box, and then we've got the 4 machine guns, 750 rounds per gun, which is absolutely freaking fantastic. Fantastic sturdy little plane. Let's have a look at her. The I-15s. There is 3 of these reserve planes at 1.0 in the Soviet line, and they are absolutely enjoyable, fantastic maneuverable little buggers that you can use to hone your dogfighting skills, and that is amazing. What are the strengths in the I-16s? Well, let's start off with maneuverability. These are the best turning planes in the game. There is very little competition, and for example the Ki-27 comes close, the CW-21 comes close, but this one is just the best turning plane in the game, and it also has very good roll rate, which comes very close to the Heinkel 51s, which have the best roll rate in the game. But this biplane is absolutely enjoyable when it comes to maneuverability, and it's absolutely its main strength. The other strengths in this plane are the offensive guns and their ammo loads. You have 4 guns in these planes, and all 3 of them have that, and they also have fantastic ammo loads, which is also very good to have. So you have devastating firepower for the early ranks. Many of the enemy planes only have 2 guns. Some have a little bit bigger caliber, and some also have 4 guns, but then with little ammo, or at least less than this plane has. So yeah, you always have an advantage when it comes to firepower. The weaknesses in this plane is definitely the speed. This is one of the slower biplanes in the early game. It is definitely not in the top, somewhere at the lower end, and that can be problematic when you have to escape something. You will have to rely on your dogfighting skills. So yeah, speed is definitely not one of the strengths. Flight style in this plane is definitely close air support. All of these planes have 50 kilogram bombs, 2 of them, and that's definitely useful. It is of course mainly a turn fighter, but it can also energy fight, especially against biplanes. Of course not in up tiers against 2.0 planes. Many of those planes have better energy retention, acceleration and that jazz. So as an energy fighter it's not skilled in up tiers, and boom and zooming, well, also only against other biplanes. But as a turn fighter she functions against any planes you will face, and that is where the main strength lies, together with those guns. Is she competitive? I would say yes. These I-15s are very competitive, and they are my favorite biplanes in the game, to be honest. They are so maneuverable that you turn circles around even some of the other biplanes, and the firepower makes sure that you finish planes off, and you have plenty of ammo to keep doing that from the start of the match right up until the end. So it's easy to stay into the air for a long time as well. It also has high fuel load, so that all goes into high survivability and longevity in this plane. What is the fun factor in the I-15s? I would say high. They all are very fun. They are all quite similar. There is not a difference to be discovered to the quick eye, and they are highly fun in my opinion. Is it recommended? How highly do you value these planes? And again, I would have to say high. This is a fantastic biplane in which you can have a shit ton of fun and really learn the early game, the dogfighting and the close quarter combat that you have in biplanes. And yeah, I can definitely recommend the I-15s to you. After the I-15s, we meet the I-16s in the MiG fighter line. Let's have a look at that. We have 4 of them in a folder here. You have the Type 5 here with only 2 guns. Then the Type 10, first one with 4 guns. And then the Type 18 and the Type 24 with 4 guns and extra a little bit of engine power. Let's have a look at her. Also, again, for the pilot protection, this plate is a little bit less thick with 6mm. And we have the X-ray here with the fuel tank in the same kind of place. We have guns here, 650 rounds for the inner pair and 900 rounds for the wing-mounted pair. Fantastic small little bugger. Let's have a look at them. So we're looking at the I-16s now. 4 of them you have. They are not the same like the I-15s though. You have the 1.3 battle rating is where it starts with the Type 5. And then you go up to all the way to 2.3 with the Type 24. You have the Type 10 and the Type 18 in between with 1.7 and 2.0 battle rating. The Type 5 in the beginning doesn't have any ordnance and it only has 2 guns. The 1.7 battle rating Type 10 has rockets and it does have 4 guns and a little bit of a better engine. And the Type 18 at 2.0 and the Type 24 at 2.3, they do have both bombs and rockets, 4 guns and an even better engine than the Type 10. So those are the 4 planes you have to choose from. The maneuverability in the planes is definitely one of those strengths that this plane has. And you do have to think of it like this. Against the biplanes, that maneuverability is nothing spectacular, as many of the biplanes can compete. But when you face some of the up tiers, or you fly the 2.0 or 2.31, then maneuverability is mostly just strength, as the biplanes go out of the picture at a certain point, and you will only face monoplanes, and you will be the most maneuverable plane in the game. The ammo loads of this plane are also a very good upside. They have great ammo loads and you can really shoot a lot of planes with that, so that's good. You have durability, which really adds to the survivability. It seems like a sturdy little bugger. There is a little bit of pilot vulnerability, but it's not too bad, and the plane does seem sturdy. It's also very versatile with the rockets, the bombs, the turn rate, and it can, of course, all planes can energy fight and boom and zoom a little bit, although this plane doesn't particularly shine in that department. There are many planes that perform less than this plane, especially at the early battle rating. So yeah, and can be used in ground RB as well because of the rocket and bomb options. So those are also definitely a strength. You also have weaknesses in this plane. The speed, the plane is not particularly fast. It's actually quite slow, especially against monoplanes, but the maneuverability definitely makes up for it. Overheating is also an issue when you use a lot of web, so be careful of too much web usage in this plane. You don't want to overheat her too much, but all in all, the downsides are definitely not stronger than the upsides, right? The flight style in this plane is versatile. You can use her as a close air support in tank RB, or go for a ground attacking role. With the ammo loads and the bombs and rockets, this plane is definitely a menace to soft targets. It is also a turn fighter, of course, specialized, very good at that. She can, against some planes, do some energy fighting and boom and zooming, especially against biplanes. but that is not its main role. Is this plane competitive? I would say yes. The early one, the 1.3 one, I would skip because it only has 2 guns. But the 1.7 one is ideal when it comes to strength and battle rating. The other two are good too, but the 1.7 one, especially for beginning players, is excellent. This plane has a high fun factor, absolute joy to fly. You will have a lot of fun in it, and I also do recommend this plane highly. You saw this match, it's definitely an up tier to 4.7. This plane still performs. It's an absolute joy to fly. Hey guys, so we jump over to the Lavochkin fighter line, and the first one in that line is the I-15 BIS. She sits right here in the tree, and 1.0 battle rating as well. A different kind of design for this I-15's wing setup is different, a closed cowling, and these little things on the wheels to improve aerodynamics. Very nice. Another thing is that this plane also has rockets, so that is a nice addition to this one. We've got the plate here, 8mm, which is nice, and we do have the same kind of setup for the fuel tank. The guns though are different. You have 1100 rounds per gun for this inner pair, and this outer pair only has 425 rounds. So that's a little bit of a different setup from the regular I-15s. So yeah, with rockets, interesting plane. Let's have a look. The Lavochkin line starts off with the I-15 BIS. It looks different from the I-15s with the engine cowling and the upper wing being completely different in setup. You also have the covers for the wheels. It looks much more sleek, although I don't like this upper wing setup, to be honest. But 1.0 battle rating also for this plane. It feels and flies very similar to the other I-15s. It's just a little bit of an upgraded version. What are the strengths in this plane? Well, maneuverability, of course. It turns not as good as the original I-15s, but it's still very maneuverable in the turn rate, and the roll rate is also still very good. Offensive guns, of course, at a 1.0 battle rating with 4 machine guns. It's absolutely nice to have. You also have great ammo loads, and those are a great lethal combination, the maneuverability and the devastating firepower at this battle rating. So yeah, that is an absolute strength for this plane. Their weaknesses in this plane is definitely the speed. It is again not a very fast plane, the I-15. Against some of the other biplanes it can compete, but there is definitely a lot of biplanes that are faster than the I-15 BIS, and that is something you have to look out for. It's not one of the strengths. What is the flight style in the I-15 BIS? It is close air support, of course, with the bombs and the rockets on this plane. It is very nice. Of course, the regular I-15s only had the 50 kilogram bombs, but this I-15 BIS also has rocket options, and this early on to have rockets at 1.0 battle rating is a lot of fun. I mean, you can go for those rocket bomber kills or getting an enemy fighter with those rockets. It can be a lot of fun, but you can also do close air support there, of course, and it makes this plane ideally suited for tank RB as well. So yeah, very versatile when it comes to that, and those rockets definitely make a difference. It is a turn fighter also, and it can energy fight and boom and zoom against some of the other biplanes. In up tiers against monoplanes, it's not that competitive in the boom and zoom role, and the energy fighting, of course, but that is always the case with biplanes, how it performs, how you should approach other biplanes, and how you should approach the monoplanes. But it is a very versatile plane. Is this plane competitive? I would say yes. It is a competitive plane. It is very versatile, and you can do everything in this plane basically, which is fun. That brings me to the fun factor. I find this plane to be very fun. As I said, very versatile. You can do a lot with it, and the dogfighting in the plane is just very enjoyable. You have a lot of ammo, so after dogfights and killing a few planes, you can definitely go after columns, as I did, as you just saw. So yeah, high fun factor. Do you recommend this plane? How highly do you value her? I would say very high. This is a fantastic 1.0 battle rating plane with a lot of possibilities in it, and she can definitely wreak havoc at the enemy team. I really, really like this plane, and I can definitely recommend her to you. So we arrive at the true further development of the I-15, the I-153M62 with retractable gear, with a closed engine cowling, stronger engine, and all that jazz. I mean, the ultimate development of the I-15. Very nice looking plane. She sits right here as the second plane in the Lavochkin line before we move over to the legs and the LAs. 2.0 beta rating, nice beta rating for this plane. She does have the same armor plate, which is always nice, and we've got the fuel set up in the same position. We've got the guns with the nice all-round, a little bit more all-round division of the ammo loads. 500 rounds for this and 700 rounds for this inner pair, with one having actually 750 rounds. And this one has 520 actually. So that's a little bit of a unmatched setup for the guns, but plenty of ammo to go around. I believe this thing also has the rockets. Yeah, same setup as the I-15. So you have a little bit more oomph to her. Let's check her out. We're looking at the Chaika, the I-153M62. What a fantastic plane. This is one of the stronger planes in rank 1 Soviets, and it is very joyful to fly. 2.0 beta rating for this Chaika, and look at it. This is the ultimate I-15, right? Oh, the further development of that. What a killing machine this is. In up tiers, it is absolutely brutal. Yeah, let's have a look. The strengths in this plane. Well, maneuverability, of course. Although with all the additions to the speed department and you know, equipping a better engine, the maneuverability has suffered a little bit compared to I-15s and I-15 buses, but it is still very, very good, both in the roll rate and in the turn rate, so that's great. Offensive guns, you have still 4 of these guns, and you can kill light pillboxes with it. Yeah, believe it or not, but it works. Small calibers, I like it. And yeah, so 4 guns, which is still good firepower, and the ammo loads are still very, very good as well, so you can definitely use that to your advantage. There is weaknesses though for this plane as well. The speed department isn't great. You really still have to use this plane purely as a turn fighter, lure people in and try to get them to turn with you, and then you will get the upper hand very, very quickly and devastate your enemies. This plane is a little bit faster though, so it is definitely not a weakness in the sense that it is bad in a dive or anything, or the speed department is terrible, but it's just slower than most of the monoplanes it will face. Although it is quite fast for a biplane. We can say that in down tiers this thing absolutely rules. Now the flight style in this plane is very versatile. You have the close air support. Of course you have more rockets than the I-15 Biz has. You have 8 rockets in this thing. You also can equip 4 50-kilogram bombs, so that's nice in tank RB, but it's also nice as a ground pounding option in air RB. She's a turn fighter, pur sang, but she can also boom and zoom and energy fight when she's in a down tier against the biplanes and other lower battle rating planes. There's only a few planes that will compete with this plane, and that is the, for example, the Ki-27, and you have the CW-21, and the BF-109E1 is a very difficult opponent as well. So there's several planes. Of course you have some Hurricanes if you're not careful, but the Hurricane you can definitely defeat with this plane. The others as well, but you know, they're good planes as well, so you gotta be aware of those. So boom and zooming and energy fighting against the down tiers, and really turn fighting in the up tiers is your way to go. Is this plane competitive? Yes, absolutely, highly competitive plane at its battle rating, very versatile as well. So joy. Fun factor is high in this plane. It is absolute joy to fly. You can do so much with this plane that can bring you joy. So find out all the options, fly her, and be surprised. It is definitely highly recommended, this plane. This is one of those planes you have to fly in rank 1 Soviets. definitely one of my favorites in this rank, and yeah, I definitely advise you to pick this plane up and to have some fun in it. Ladies and gentlemen, we arrive at the legend, the Po-2, the mightiest plane in all of War Thunder. There she is, the stuff of legends, as I said. Well, to be more serious, this is a rare plane, you don't often see it, and if you do have it, it is the start of the Soviet attacker line. The Po-2 sitting at 1.0 battle rating. No armor protection on this vehicle, which is quite unfortunate, but that's life. A little fuel tank here behind the engine, not too big. And you have a gunner here with a 7.62 Skush machine gun, 200 rounds only, so not too much ammo, but that's a good machine gun in theory. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, so the Po-2, slow plane, rare plane. Let's have a look at how this thing performs in battle, shall we? We have arrived at the mighty Po-2, the ultimate plane in War Thunder, legendary in its status, and absolutely crap. Now this is the first plane in the attacker line, and this is a rare plane. It is, you can win this plane in events and stuff like that. It becomes available now and then by Gaijin. And it sits at a 1.0 battle rating, and if you have it, it is the start of the attacker line. What are the strengths in this plane? Well, that is definitely the legend of this plane. The plane was flown a lot by the Night Witches, famed for their silent attacks on unsuspecting German soldiers, where they would fly in with their bombs, putting the engines off and gliding towards campfires, dropping the bombs and becoming an absolute menace as they glided away and laughing as women do. And that cackling was that gave them the name Night Witches, because it was females flying these planes. And that's where that legend comes from. They were absolutely feared by the German soldiers on their end of the battlefield. But apart from this legend, there is no strength to this plane. It is an absolute crap plane that is so super slow, it will take you almost a complete match to reach a bombing target. What are the weaknesses? Well, that named speed. It is absolutely the slowest plane in the whole of War Thunder, and you will be bored to death in this plane getting to a bombing target. But she's mighty, and you have to fly her. The maneuverability is also a downside. It is an absolute slow turner, and it feels like a brick, to be honest. There is also no offensive guns on this plane, which is terrible, and she has the worst performance that I have known in the whole of War Thunder. So it is a crap plane. We can conclude that. What is the flight style in the Po-2? Well, you have to use this plane as a base bomber, because you don't want to go low and be shot at, because everybody can basically kill you. You do have a gunner that can do its job, but it's not spectacular, let's be fair. And to get people on that gunner, well, they would be stupid to sit there and let themselves be shot by you and that one gunner. So yeah, base bombing is the way to go. Hopefully you will reach the target before the match ends, and if you do, then you can get some points. It can, in theory, be used as a close air support in ground RB as well, but I would not recommend it, to be honest. It would be a painful experience, I would think. Is this plane competitive? No, absolutely not. It's terrible. How is the fun factor in this plane? It is low. You will not do a lot. If you get the bombs off on a target, you should be happy. That is an achievement. Getting to the target is an achievement. Is this plane recommended? Well, no. I mean, despite the legend and the legendary state it has in War Thunder as the mighty Po-2 that can kill everything, I would not recommend this plane. If you can get it, it's nice as for gathering it, you know, for your collection. But other than that, this plane gets a low recommendation for me. It is blood, sweat and tears in this plane, and you will not get a lot of rewards, unfortunately. So after the Po-2, if you did have it, then you will meet the BB-1 and her SU-2 sisters. If you didn't have the Po-2, then this will be the beginning of your attacker line. We have a whole folder of them here. 4 of them, starting with the BB1 at 1.3 battle rating, going all the way to the SU2 M82 here with 2.7 battle rating. I prefer these first two, preferably the first one. Battle rating goes up too much at a certain point, but let's check them a little bit. They have no armor protection on this vehicle. We have fuel tanks in the wings, in front of the pilot, after the engine. And we have guns. And we have 850 rounds on 4 machine guns, which is absolutely magnificent. And we do have the same Skush machine gun that we also found on the Po. Only this one has 900 rounds before she runs out. So that is a bit better, shall we say. Well, let's have a look at these planes and identify what is worth your time and what is not. So here they are, the BB1 and the SU2s. Fantastic attackers that are very competitive. Most of them, especially the early two. There are 4 planes as I showed in that folder. And they run from 1.3 to 2.7. And only the first 2 I would recommend you to use. The other 2, the flight models stay the same, maybe a little bit of an engine increase, but not enough to make the difference. And in the end, at those higher battle ratings, especially in up tiers, the magic really disappears. But the BB1 and the first SU2 are very, very good planes at very competitive battle ratings, and you can wreak havoc in them, really. So what are the strengths in these planes? The offensive guns. They are attackers, they are close air support, but they have 4 offensive guns in the wings, and they have the same kind of firepower as most of the best fighters at this battle rating. And that is amazing. You don't have to work with 1 gun or no guns and a turret or any of that bullshit. You have 4 forward-facing guns. So you run in an aircraft with bombs and guns, and that is fantastic. It is also very maneuverable. You can dogfight with a lot of planes. Now, it is not better than specialized turn fighters, but you can maneuver with some planes, especially if you're the better pilot, which is often the case as you fly in the lower tiers with this thing. The ammo loads are fan-freaking-tastic in these planes. Absolutely amazing, and they are definite strengths. All of the planes have the same bomb loads, and they vary from 50 kilograms to 100 kilograms and different amounts, and they work very nicely for what you have to do. Column attacks, soft targets is what you do a lot in these early ranks, and that is what this plane shines at. Also, with the amazing amount of ammo, you can work that in several ways as well if you want. What are the weaknesses in these planes? Well, what I could discover is the battle ratings in the later 2. I find these planes for attackers / close air supports pretty much perfect for what they have to do and what they have to offer. But the battle ratings on the later 2 are definitely the weakness. What is the flight styles in these planes? The close air support role, support fighter, and you can also actually bomb bases, of course, if you want, but it is more suited for attacking columns, soft targets, and then being the support fighter in big dogfights with multiple planes walking around. You have this firepower, and you can be quite effective as a support fighter as well. Is this plane competitive? I would say a big yes with an exclamation mark to the first 2, but not the second 2. So the BB1 and the first SU2 are very competitive, and the later 2 less and less, basically. The fun factor in these planes is high, especially in the first 2, but in the up tiers in the second 2 you are absolutely outclassed, and the shine disappears a bit, but it is very fun in the first 2. At those battle ratings, this plane is a joy to fly. Now, are they recommended? What is my judgment on this? I would say yes. High recommendation for the first 2. They are very competitive and are excellent, and the later 2 a little bit less. They are still medium, the last 2 in recommendation, not low, but they are not as high as the first 2 anymore. We're looking at the Yak-2 KABB, the first real heavy fighter in this Soviet line. It sits right here after the Su-2s and the BB-1 at 2.3 battle rating. I think it's a great plane for that battle rating. You have a little bit of armor protection here for the pilot, which is always nice. Nothing more, I mean a whole glass frontal here, so you have good view when you fly in sim, but for the rest we have a lot of fuel tanks all through the wing. They are of course self-sealing, and we have the 20mm cannons here with 150 rounds, and right next to that are the smaller caliber guns with 500 rounds per gun. So good firepower on this plane, and a good plane all around with little pilot protection though from the front. Let's check her out. Hey, so we're looking at the Yak-2 KABB, and this plane, it is the first true heavy fighter in the Soviet line, and it is a fantastic plane with a great firepower. The two 20mm Skars cannons, fantastic, and good maneuverability as well. And it's just a lovely plane to fly. Lethal firepower, good maneuverability for a heavy fighter. She can take 4 100kg bombs as well, so she's versatile when it comes to that. And I really like this plane. 2.3 battle rating. What are the strengths in the Yak-2 KABB? The offensive guns. You have two 20mm Skars cannons. You have great firepower supported by machine guns as well with a good spread. I love it. It evaporates planes, and at a 2.3 battle rating, that firepower is really nice. The bomb load that this plane has, it only has 4 100kg bombs. It's very useful, and it's very nice to have for the versatility for using this plane in tank RB, which is of course played a lot. It's the most played mode, I think. So yeah, that bomb loads really make this plane, you know, usable for everybody, also for the tankers. And it has cannons as well, so it is more efficient against the top side of tanks. It is also maneuverable for a heavy fighter. And that maneuverability, both the roll rate and the turn time, good authority on that. And yeah, the maneuverability on this plane is very nice. The weaknesses in this plane would be no gunners for me. It could be a gunner in the back, but there is not. They left it out, I think, to keep the maneuverability and the weight of the plane down. And that is fair, but it's always nice to have a gunner in the back, and this plane doesn't have that. For the rest, the weaknesses, I don't see many weaknesses in this plane. Maybe the top speed in the dive you could call, but I don't really see that as a weakness. It's not that bad. The flight style in this plane, well, you can use it as a close air support, as an attacker, and as a support fighter. I wouldn't want to be the focal point in a dogfight in this plane, so that is something you would want to avoid. And if you are flying into something that I'm facing here, a multitude of enemies at the same altitude as yourself, you just have to go straight in and use the firepower of the plane to take some of them out, and then try to turn with some others, because a P-38 is definitely out-turnable by this plane. So yeah, support fighter / fighter is also a role. She can, as I said, turn fight a little bit. She's a brawler. But yeah, against a single seat specialized turn fighter, she can turn fight. She's also decent as an energy fighter, and boom and zooming for short runs is also a possibility. So there is that, and it is a nice plane to have. Competitive, she is, yes, definitely competitive. It's a great heavy fighter with multiple options. Versatility, I quite like it. Quite competitive. The fun factor in this plane is high. You have a lot of options, as I said, so you can use it for what you love to do. And then she's also good at the other roles that you may not love so much. Use it as a fighter after you drop your bombs in tank RB, or use the 20mm cannons to wreak havoc on tanks coming from above at their soft armor there. So yeah, high fun factor. Do I recommend this plane? Yes, highly. It is one of the centerpieces of rank 1 for me, for the Soviets, and I think it's highly recommended, this plane. She's great, versatile, strong, solid. So we arrive at the bombers for the Soviets, and the first bomber you will meet is the SB-2M100, sitting at 1.7 battle rating. It's in a folder though, with 3 other models of this plane, developed further and further from 1.7 to 2.7. And these planes are, well, they are nice and shiny. A little bit of pilot protection here. We have self-sealing fuel tanks all over the wing, so you can catch a fire here or there. We have 3 gunners, 2 here in the back with the small caliber Scush machine guns, and a double Scush machine gun setup right here with an insane amount of ammo here in the front. So there is that. That is always nice. A few bomb options on this plane, but let's take a look at how she performs. So we arrive at the bomber line for the Soviets, and it starts off with the SB-2Ms, 4 of them, ranging from 1.7 to 2.7 battle rating. And this is basically the same story as the BB-1 and the Su-2s. Only the first 2 are really viable, and I don't really like the plane because of the reason you're gonna see on the screen soon. They have terrible compression, and it is difficult to get out of dives and stuff like that. So that limits the options for these planes. But what are the actual strengths in the SB-2Ms? Well, they have the same structure, they have the same fuselage, and they all look the same. So the performance is basically not much difference, except that you get better engines along the way. And the first one has less bombs, so the limited bomb loads compared to the other 3, which have the same bomb loads for the rest. So and they all have 3 turrets, so there's that. The speed in this plane is a definite strength. It is a fast plane, and in a dive it's quite nice, but until the moment of compression, and then you get into trouble. And that's already at 500 kilometers an hour where she really starts to compress. The bomb loads in the last 3, and then specifically that second one with its battle rating still competitive, are very nice. And the later 2 I wouldn't fly, I would skip those. But anyway, those first 2 are very nice in that sense. The turn time is very good. It's quite maneuverable in the turn rate. And it is also durable, so it is quite sturdy, and it takes a lot of ammo, especially when you're facing the biplanes, to get this thing down by them. And then you can wreak some havoc with your gunners. What are the weaknesses in this plane? Well, the roll rate. It doesn't want to roll really well. Especially rolling over the top is very slow. Compression is a disaster. It is atrocious compression in this plane, which is a real problem. And to get out of dives and to really use your altitude usefully, that is a problem. And the gunners are not fantastic. I would say the placement of the gunners and the effectiveness of the gunners, I'm not crazy about them. But maybe someone else will not line this as a weakness, as you do have 3 gunners. So, but for me, I don't like the gunner placement, especially the top one. With the tail doesn't work very well. What is the flight style in this plane? I would call it a base bomber. As a column attacker, it is not fantastic due to the lacking roll rate and maneuverability to adjust. You miss a lot of your shots if you're not correct on your final approach. And in a dive it compresses a lot, so you get yourself into trouble in rip. But maybe only in the beginning a few times. I mean, after that you can control it, but still I would just basically base bomb in it, and after that your second run may be on the column. Is it competitive? The first 2, yes. The second 2, no. The battle rating becomes too high, the competitive becomes too hefty. It's not fun anymore at that point. What is the fun factor in this plane? I would say medium. You can have some reasonable fun in the first 2, but other than that. And recommended, I will only recommend the first 2, but I would basically skip these planes as much as I can and move on to the Yak-4, which is much more competitive. But if you have to fly these things, then the first 2 only, and skip the last 2. So we have arrived at the Yak-4, the bomber version of the Yak-2 KABB. She sits right here. 2.3 battle rating right after the SB-2Ms, and the battle rating is quite alright on this plane. You have a good pilot protection from the back and below a little bit. 8mm, everything pretty good. A lot of self-sealing fuel tanks in the wings, So yeah, a little bit of risky business there. You do have one forward-facing machine gun with 500 rounds, which is nice. And you have the turret here, also with a 7.6mm Scush machine gun. Let's have a look at this heavy fighter made bomber. So we arrive at the Yak-4 after the SB2Ms. The Yak-4 sits nice and pretty at 2.3 battle rating. As you see here, as you may recognize, this is the exact copy of the Yak-2 KABB, only it has a turret and it is a bomber. So, and instead of the 4 100 kilogram bombs, this one has 8 100 kilogram bombs as the only bomb load. And but it is just as maneuverable as the Yak-2 KABB, and it has a forward-facing gun. So that is always nice. What are the strengths in this plane? The speed, it is a fast plane for a bomber, as comparable to the Yak-2 KABB, and yeah, that is nice. Turn time is also very competitive for a bomber, and with the offensive gun that you also have, you can combine that maneuverability, speed and offensive gun. You can help shoot some fighters down once you are done throwing your bombs away, and that is joyful. There is also some nice climb rate on this plane, as it is based off the Yak-2 KABB, and thus competitive in the climb rate for a bomber as well. Those are the strengths. Now, what are the weaknesses in this plane? The gunners. As it is a bomber, it only has one gunner up top, and the rest, she will rely on her maneuverability, her offensive guns and her skills as a fighter. And the bomb loads, of course, are also a weakness, because you only have the one bomb load, and that limits you in your options. Flight style in the plane. Well, she can base bomb and she can close air support. She's an attacker, of course. And the base bombing with 4 800 kilogram bombs, especially in down tiers, is quite effective. But she's great on columns with the 100 kilogram bombs, and that is where I would use her. She can also be used, of course, in the tank RB, as it is quite competitive. You know, with the guns and with the bombs, you can wreak a lot of havoc. It has that gun, and she's quite maneuverable, so I see a role for her there as well. Is it competitive? Well, I already said a little bit. Yes, she is very competitive as a bomber. It is one of the more maneuverable bombers, and with an offensive gun, I always like that. Even though it's only a small caliber, she is quite effective when it comes to that. That also makes her quite fun. The fun factor for me is medium on this plane. It would not be a plane that I would fly a lot personally, but if you have to fly a bomber in rank 1 Soviets, then it is the Yak-4. It is the best one for it, in my opinion, and I had the most fun in it compared to the other bombers in this rank. Do you recommend her? How high do you value her? Yes, I rate this bomber in the medium range. It is not spectacular, but it is not bad either. There's not many downsides to this plane, except for the one gunner and the one bomb load. That is a bit limiting to both, but that has upsides as well, keeping it maneuverable, keeping it fast. And yeah, so I would say this thing is mediumly recommended, but I think it's the bomber to go for. So this is the last bomber and the last plane of rank 1 Soviets, and she sits right here, the AR-2, sitting at 2.3 battle rating. This is a further development of the SB2Ms. Very similar planes when it comes to how they look. A few differences here and there, but nothing too different. We've got the armor protection for the pilot. The plate there is always nice. We've got the fuel tanks, all self-sealing in the wings. You have the 3 gunners, all with the 7.62 Scush machine guns with different ammo loads. And yeah, is this very different, or is it just the same experience? Let's have a look. Gotta love how these bombs fall away sometimes in the replay. Anyway, this is the AR-2, guys. The last bomber in rank 1 for the USSR. And it sits at a 2.3 battle rating, just like the Yak-4. I really prefer the Yak-4 above this one. And it is because this is just a further development of the SB2Ms. It is a difficult plane. It has high compression as well. I really don't like it too much. It also has the exact same bomb loads as the SB2Ms and the same gunner setup. And it looks almost the same as well, just a few adjustments in the design. What are the strengths in this plane? The speed, it is quite fast actually, this plane. And that is an upside. It does compress, so that is an immediate downside as well. The bomb loads are an advantage, definitely. There is lots of options and different setups that you can use, so that is an upside. Turn time is definitely good in this plane. It can definitely maneuver, but it doesn't roll that good then. That's a downside. The durability is also an upside. It is quite sturdy, but in up tiers this plane faces much more cannon versions. In the 1.7 version of the SB2M, you just are much more survivable because less planes have the cannons, right? Most of the time. So the weaknesses in the AR2 are the roll rate. Doesn't want to roll very well, just like its little sisters. And the compression in the plane is also quite nasty. It doesn't want to pull out of a dive, so you got to be careful in that dive, and that limits the speed department a little bit as well, even though I would say that's an advantage. You got to pay attention that you don't compress yourself into the ground. The gunners in this plane are also a weakness. As I said, I don't like these gunners. The placement of the top one on the tail, just very limited in that sense. But some specialists in this plane might say, Jengar, what are you talking about? The guns are just fine. Who knows? might be the case. What is the flight style in the AR2? I would call it a base bomber. It is maneuverable enough to go after the columns, though. It is a little bit of an improvement over the SB2Ms. I almost bombed myself there. Fantastic mood, right? Oh my god. Well, I would focus on base bombing in this plane. Is the plane competitive? I would say yes. But barely. I don't really like these bombers. These SB2Ms and the AR2 now. They haven't stolen my heart. That's for sure. And this one sits at 2.3 battle rating, so that's you face Corsairs, so it's always nice. Lovely. Not. The fun factor in the AR2 is medium for me, as it does face very stiff opposition, difficult plane to fly and keep alive and stuff like that. Is she recommended? I would say no more than medium, and that barely. It is it's not a great bomber. I think the Yak-4 is much better, has much more options, forward-facing gun as well. I prefer the Yak-4, and I would advise you to stick to the Yak-4 if you're a bomber pilot in rank 1 for the USSR, and leave this thing alone. Unlock it and move on to rank 2. Hey guys, you've reached the guide and tips section of this video, and we're gonna look at the route to take when you're grinding, the things that you can put a talisman on, and what I would give you for my recommendation to fly if you're a fighter pilot and if you're a bomber pilot. I think the most straightforward path towards rank 2 as a fighter pilot is to go for the first of the IR-15s. You just pick this one and you unlock it. Unlock some of the other planes until you get to the I-153 M62, and with that plane just wreak havoc and unlock the rest of the tree. This plane is very good and it is fun, it is versatile. You can take it into tanks, it has rocket options, 8 of them, and you can have a shit ton of fun in it. It's as I said, it's very versatile and you can do a lot of things in it, so it won't get boring very quickly. And it's only 2.0 battle rating, so it's better than some of the later I-16s, of which only the first few are really competitive. And the I-15s, well, I mean, they're 1.0 battle rating. At a certain point you want to fly something else, so that would be the I-153. The I-15 business is not something I take into account, even though it's a fun plane. And if you want to spade everything, then you can definitely go ahead. All these planes are fun and all these planes are pretty competitive. The last 2 I-16s are a bit high in battle rating, but for the I think that 1.7 one, the Type 10, is ideal. But for the rest, just get an I-15, unlock this one, and unlock the rest of the 3 for a fighter pilot. As a fighter pilot, you might also consider the Yak-2 KABB, by the way, because that's also very feasible as a fighter with its air spawn and its 2 20mm cannon. But yeah, the I-153 is definitely worth of a talisman if you want to consider that for any of these planes. The Yak-2 KABB as well, by the way, I got this one for free. Lucky man. But yeah, so if you are a bomber pilot, what do you want to do then? Or an attacker pilot, what is there to enjoy in this tree? Well, in the bomber tree, I don't really love any of these 4 bombers. The Yak-4, in my opinion, is the best of the bunch. The SB2Ms are really only competitive in the first 2 iterations. The last 2 are just way too high in the battle rating. And the 2.0 one is already questionable. Not too great. The Yak-4, based off the same fuselage as the Yak-2 KABB, is much more maneuverable, has a forward-facing gun, is much more fun to fly. And the AR-2 is just a further, you know, changed. It's a little bit different in the design, but it has many similarities with the SB2Ms. And it's just not my cup of tea, this one. I like the the Yak-4 the most of these bombers, if you have to choose a bomber. So if you're a pure bomber pilot, I would go for the Yak-4 and potentially put a talisman on there to unlock this whole stuff. But I want you to consider the BB-1. BB-1 and the first SU-2 are fantastic planes at very competitive battle ratings. The further and later SU-2s with the 2.0 and especially the 2.7 with the same flight model, the same fuselage, is not competitive. This is questionable. These 2 are very nice, and they have bombs, they have 4 forward-facing guns, they are very maneuverable, they are extremely fun. The PO-2, well, it's rare, so you probably don't have it as a new player. If you do have it, it's crap. Even though it has a great legend attached to it, but that's besides the point, so I would skip this. And go for the BB-1 or the SU-2. BB-1 probably, it's just a better battle rating. And it's still, you know, lower battle rating than this one. Put a talisman on there. You can unlock the whole tree while you're bombing, while you're dogfighting, while you're shooting 4 guns at enemy planes. It is one of the shiny points of this rank 1. Fantastic plane. And then, if you want, you can go for the BB-1 and then unlock the Yak-2 KABB and fly that as well. And have a combination of a 2.3 battle rating plane, which is a heavy fighter, starts with an air spawn, and the BB-1, which is, you know, lower battle rating, but still, those 2 planes in this attacker bomber line are for me the most fun. And this one can take bombs as well, so if you want to throw bombs, I would go for the BB-1 and then the Yak-2 KABB. And yeah, depending on your preference, I would put a talisman on one or either of those if you have money to spare. But if you don't want to spend any money, you can just fly them. The BB-1 will give you loads of rewards. It's a great plane. Very, very competitive plane. I think I would name the BB-1 the best plane of rank 1 Soviets. Overall, right? What you can do with it. Comes close to the I-153 though. That is also an amazing plane. But yeah, those are the routes. As a fighter, an I-15 and then the I-153 with an escape to the Yak-2 KABB for variety maybe. And as a bomber attacker pilot, I would try to unlock maybe fly the first SB2, unlock the Yak-4 if you want to stay in bombers, or if you want to go to the attackers, go for the BB-1 and potentially fly the Yak-2 KABB a little bit as well. Those are the routes that are most efficient. BB-1, this one, the I-153, are definitely worth of your talisman placement if you want that. Yak-2 KABB as well. And for the rest, your bomber pilot, maybe this one. But yeah, I hope it helped, guys, and will help you in your considerations when you go to rank 1. Luckily, it is always a very fast rank, so I would only use 1 talisman, but you have those choices to make, I think. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.